So on the hate tip, I know
None.
you're so quick. All right, you got done. I'm gonna be fast on this. So it's a necessary part of the movie. I hate that they made Carver so obviously criminal. Like
Mm.
like there's something, and you mentioned this before. The idea of if you're ripping off Freddie Mac, that seems kind of like a nameless, faceless thing.
Yeah, so it doesn't
But
bother you.
once he does the thing with the letter to like they try to sneak the letter in on the court case for the guy whose house they're gonna take, it's like, dang, you're really crooked and evil now, right? And it like
No, that don't bother me either,
it
though.
all right, well for me it just did because I think absent that scene, I think it makes you question, and this is one of a question for you later on about this, but whether or not Rick Carver's his perception is right. And I think once you view him as evil, then it's like you can kind of negate that. So I just structurally in the movie, I just wish that wasn't there. So that was one of the hate things. The other thing is, and you talked about this earlier too, I didn't like Connor leaving with the grandmother, leaving his dad. I just didn't like that scene. It makes sense in the context of the family
Hmm.
dynamics being out of alignment. I just, we talked about it before, but just the idea of like the son saying, "No, Dad, I want to go with Grandma. I don't want to be in the house with the Shaquille O'Neal size, swimming pool." And I just didn't like that. And then the way the movie ended, I felt like somebody should have got shot. That's like somebody. I don't know I just felt like
Streets got to catch a body.
somebody's got to catch a body here. Is it going to be Rick? Is it going to be Dennis? Somebody had to get shot, and nobody did. And I just something about that just didn't sit well with me. It's not a bad ending; it just wasn't what I wanted. So I know it makes it sound bad.
Wasn't.
I know it makes it sound bad to say that, and
It was no.
not that I'm rooting for mayhem, but I just felt like that's where it was going to end. So that was my things.
Well, it doesn't sound as bad as me saying, "Hey, the letter was necessary, and I ain't mad
Yeah, you
about
did
it."
say that. Yeah,
I think,
we gonna
but I think, but I get there's a purpose to that, and we'll get to that in
yeah
a bit.
we're gonna we'll talk about that in the deleted scene some other time, man. All right, let's get into the popcorn, man. What are you giving the movie, popcorn wise?
Come on, Doug.
Five
Five,
boxes.
yo.
All right, 5 boxes.
This is not only a great date movie, but it's a historical slash pseudo documentary. It relates on so many heartstrings, like I mean, so many multiple emotions, and it pulls on your heartstrings. I'm going with five.
Okay, cool. I did enjoy watching it. Really good acting. I'm gonna give it 3.5. It wasn't necessarily one of my favorites, but I didn't feel like I wasted my time by watching it at all. And so 3.5 for me means check it out. It's on Showtime, as you said. See it.
Yeah, it's readily
Yeah, is
available.
it?
But more importantly for me, I think the fact that this movie delves into a lot of different areas and asks a lot of important
Mm-hmm.
questions, and that's a great segue for my questions to
Fire
you.
away.
Um, how far would you go to ensure your family's security and
You gotta
prosperity?
do whatever you can
Rick Carver.
within the ability that allows you to be able to continue to do that. So I use that. I put that caveat on it because at the end, the dad in the house with the gun, like I get it, you're trying to defend your house or whatever, but now you going to jail. You going to the Ville, even if
So you ain't gonna have no
right,
house.
even if your family keeps the home, you ain't there to look out for them anymore. So
And he almost bust a cap in one of his
right,
kids.
that part. So yeah, do whatever you can, but make sure you're there to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Uh, if you possess ethical flexibility, does that clarify you as a villain?
That's a good one. Um, Ethical flexibility. That's a good one. So I would say that there is a certain any situation has to be evaluated not only based on what you're doing, but within the context of the situation you're in. Right. And it's
Mm.
funny because I got into a conversation with some brothers earlier this week about this. On the surface, right, most people would say killing is wrong. Right.
Mm.
Most people would agree with that. But then what does that mean for people who are soldiers? What does
Right.
that mean for if you become a soldier? What does that mean for if
Mm-hmm.
somebody breaks into your house with the intent to harm
Mm.
you or your children? You become sort of flexible on that moral ethical compass based on the circumstance
Mm-hmm.
at hand? No one would say you should go out and shoot people randomly in the street, but I think
Right.
people look at what happens in a war zone or an actual stated combat situation differently. So I think the idea of the flexibility isn't so much a suggestion that you're leaning towards good or bad, but more like the ability to properly put your actions into the context of the situation you're in.
I could dig that. Should you exploit a loophole, or should you ignore it and follow the spirit of the law?
So you know what, man? In contracts, we always get into this discussion of the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law versus
Letter of
spirit
the law.
of the words, right? Spirit of the words is like your interpretation of it. Letter of the law is what it actually says, right?
Connotation,
Right. You
denotation.
might say, "Yo, I wasn't driving fast," okay, because fast to you isn't 60 miles an hour, but the speed limit was 45. So how I interpret fast doesn't matter anymore based on what the rule is. So
Right, right.
you better be cognizant of the rules of the system that you're operating in to the extent that that system has the ability to present consequences for you. If there are no
Right.
consequences, then it's fine. Then it's all subject to your own opinion and perspective. But if there's a clearly stated letter of law, you better be following that. Otherwise, you're going to the
Mm.
Ville.
I like that. The bill. All right. Next question is should necessities like food, clothing, and shelter be monetized?
So yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think so, man. Like if you are in a system, once I mean all the questions you're asking, they're really getting to the idea of like the system that you're in. If you're in a
Mm-hmm.
system of sales, supply and demand, then things do have to have value and they have to be monetized, or there has to be some kind of value attributed to them. If you're the best fried chicken cook in America, right? Because we're talking about the big piece of chicken, you're not going to give the chicken away for free. Like that chicken has to, something's got to come to you for the chicken. Now, maybe somebody will say, here, I make the best corn in the world. Now you can get some corn for the
Mm.
chicken, but that's a bartering society. Now, if you want to live in a house, you might have to sell some of that chicken to be able to stay in the house, right? Now you got the chicken coop. Now you got Mr. Will's chicken coop and you're in it, and that's good, right? But I don't think on the surface there's anything wrong with that if you're in that system. Now, if you don't want to
Mm.
be in that system and you want to be in a different system, then by all means go to a system that operates in a more equitable fashion for what you
Mm.
want. But if you're going to be in a system where that's how it operates, then yeah, you monetize everything.
I dig it. And then last but not least, uh, how can you own something that was there before you even existed?
Yeah, that's just straight capitalism. That's not that complex, man. That's just straight capitalism. That's just what happens when people decide that everything has a price, and it's a danger for everything to be something that can be bought and sold, including people, and it's what leads
Mm-hmm.
to the exploitation of people in extreme situations, and that's how you get modern day slavery all the way back to the chattel slavery that we all know has existed. So there has to be some balances and some checks and balances, and I think that's where the moral part comes in. And capitalism without morality, and some people would say capitalism has no morality to begin with, but capitalism without morality is always going to trend towards exploitation. And that's what you see, unfortunately, happen in many cases across the globe.
Mm.
As always, those were some heaters, man. My joints are going to be much easier and much more in the film. So don't expect it.
I'm more
Don't
esoteric.
expect it to be that deep, man. All right. So my first question is, man. So at the end of this movie, you see Dennis getting put in the cop car, and
Mm.
we see Rick looking at him, kind of like, "You stupid." What do you think? Like, what do you think happens to Dennis and Rick? Like, what do you think is their outcome at the end of this movie? If they did like that little crawl at the end, this is what happened. What do you think it says for the two characters?
Oh, Rick is going to jail, but he manages to get off because of his
Mm-hmm.
connections and his power and his money. Don't get me wrong, his assets are frozen, et cetera, et cetera. But somehow he's able to finagle his way because money is nothing more than a means by which accentuates who you are
Mm-hmm.
anyway. Um, and I think with respect to Dennis, I think that he's the witness. He is the entire case. So he gets a nice little probation, 6 months, suspended license, whatever, and he's done. Um, do they meet up in lockup? Nah, they definitely got to keep them dudes apart. Um, But homie with the gun, oh no, he's going to Gen Pop, and unfortunately, he ends up either hanging it up or he ends up becoming somebody's plaything.
Dang. All right, so Dennis is good. Rick is gonna like beat the system, and then the other dude is going to the Ville. That's what you said. All right.
Yeah,
All right, I can see that. I can see all those. All right, next thing. So Rick and Dennis have this crazy working relationship thing where
yeah,
Dennis is working, he makes money, and he tells Rick, "Nah, you keep the money and put it towards my house." Right? Okay. In that situation, isn't Dennis going to be working for Rick for about 15 years without getting money?
yeah. Nah, that's not happening. I understand the whole lease to own program, and that's what he thought he was
Right.
doing, you know.
Right.
But nah, that's not happening. What happens is that deal goes through. We're talking about this is $1 billion
Mm-hmm.
deal, almost
Oh, on
on
the
the like
houses, yeah,
hundreds
hundreds
of
of houses, yeah.
yeah on those houses. Like because the dude told him, oh no, I got thousands of
Mm-hmm.
houses. Like he told him from the jump, you get this deal. Oh no, you're the loan. You're the connect.
Mm-hmm.
We're going through you. So with that being said,